Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Raad Life. Today, I have a special guest on, a friend of mine, a fellow professional in the hospitality industry. As many of you know, I am actually a commercial interior designer, a hospitality designer. I have been one since 1994 when I basically pivoted, and we'll talk about that a little bit with Aileen. I pivoted from it was the 1991, the real estate market crashed, and I pivoted and went to design school on a complete, kind of, oh, this is interesting. Let's do this for the summer. And it led to another career path for me that I have been doing since 94. So I've met a lot of interesting people in the industry, and it's my time involved in hospitality, which I'm still working on projects right now, actually. Thankful for those projects that have stuck around and sustained the company through the last few months that have been very challenging for everybody. So I want to bring Aileen on because she herself has a story to tell as well about how she has pivoted during this pandemic. And as she puts it, she didn't want to hear about people crying her a river anymore. So no crying me a river anymore, according to Aileen, and you just got to do what you need to do. So without further ado, Aileen Canta, how are you?
Hi, Rod. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure to have you, my friend. I was saying that, and we'll explore it a little bit further later. I was saying that pivoting right now is something that everybody's doing, and since I started doing these shows almost on a daily basis after the shutdown, the first shutdown in March, we were talking about the importance of growth mindset versus bunker mentality, right? You just cut to the chase as you usually do. And when I start talking to you about being on the show, you're like, yeah, I'm tired of people crying me a river. So don't cry me a river. Don't cry me a river. Right. Yeah, it's true. I think, especially at the beginning, it was understandably jarring, understandably, sort of it threw everybody for a loop that all of a sudden here we are. And for those who maybe did not experience this, I know for our industry, this year started out with a bang. I mean, it was roaring.
Oh yeah, it was roaring,
right? I mean, even like the last couple of years have been good and steady, and I think there was a little bit of denial, to be honest, in the industry. I don't know if you agree with me, but the last couple of years, the warning signs have been on the wall for a slowdown, not necessarily a pandemic. Like one of my favorite things that somebody shared with me, my friend Wendy shared with me, is when somebody says to you, well, we're supposed to be doing this and supposed to be doing that. And I'm like, I don't know. This is my first pandemic. How about you? Like, have you been in a pandemic before? I don't know what to do in a pandemic. This is new for me. So, but our industry was kind of, like a lot of other industries, I believe, we were looking at probably an economic slowdown. I think that was, the natural cycle of things. Nobody in their wildest imaginations anticipated this, for sure.
No, not at all.
And so it's understandable that a lot of people basically were thrown for a loop. Some people, like you and I, we work for ourselves. I think if you worked for yourself, you had probably extreme worries, but at the same time, you were not subject to the whim of others. Like you were not going to be laid off. You would lay yourself off, right? You didn't have that stress. You had different kinds of stresses, but those kind of stresses of being part of a corporate environment where somebody is going to make a decision for you was not there. So in that way, maybe we're a little bit lucky. A lot of people got furloughed. It's astounding to me how many people got laid off, how fast when this whole started, right?
Yeah, it's just not the furlough. It's the reduction of pay, benefits, and then laying off, and then now completely letting them go.
Right.
Whatever else do you want to call it, but it's now they're really cleaning house.
Well, and those are companies that actually were, in my mind, very nice to their employees. They actually tried to keep them, they furloughed them, so they were still kind of having benefits and insurance coverage, things of that nature. As time progressed, and we're in this yo-yo of up and down, not only driven by irregularity and confusing messaging by those in power, but also that you have this, spike going on. Like we level off and then we spike again and so forth, right? So, companies, I can appreciate that companies have to make hard decisions because of their outlay of costs, but those are the companies that were nice to their employees. There are a lot of companies that just dumped a whole bunch of people from almost day one. And I think there will be a price to pay for those companies going forward if they are fortunate enough to still be around. So people were pivoting all over the place. I think they were pivoting so many times we were probably like spinning tops, like we didn't know where to go. We're pivoting here, there, anything that would work, right? So tell people a little bit about your background, because I mentioned that you and I are both in the hospitality industry. So you have your own business. You've been in this space for a long time. Tell people a little bit more about this, and then let's talk about how it's been for you. Like, what did you go through as part of this journey in the last few months? And where do you find yourself today? Because I'm looking at you and you look at peace, you look, happy, you look radiant, actually. It's really funny. And I know
I'm
why.
older. I'm wiser, maybe.
You're older, you're wiser. That's why things, just roll off your back now. So tell people a little bit about you, about your company. What do you do? And then let's explore a little bit what you've been through the last few months.
Sure. So I've been in the hospitality industry for 22 years, coming up 23, actually. I'm getting up there, Rod. I'm trying to catch up with you.
Tell me about it.
And I've been in the development, design, construction space on the ownership side. I've worked for various companies, for REIT, and then 9/11 happened. I had an opportunity to consult for CNL Hospitality, and that my first big brand project that I had to work on, a conversion from a DoubleTree to a Hilton hotel. It was in Costa Mesa. It was a 528 room hotel. And I was basically, my role was a project manager, and there's lead people, and I just met them through, being an employee and all that stuff. I guess
right.
they like the way I work and my dedication. And that's how my daughter and I moved to Orange County from LA. We were living at the hotel Monday to Friday, and then Friday night would drive back to Encino.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how this all evolved, that we moved to Orange County. Then after that, Sunstone Hotels offered me to work for them, again through the connection that I had throughout my 20s. And then
and Sunstone was in San Clemente, right?
Correct. But I was working from home since I was the first woman director of construction for the West Coast. I was the first woman that worked for them. And then I was working from home anyways, and I only had to commute to San Clemente twice a month. And then I was on the plane all the time, or driving through California, LA, Orange County, or wherever my projects are. Then it went from there. I had an opportunity to work for the Ezralos and Dinovitz, the guys who developed Calabasas, and they were partners with Valley Crest companies. So I had an opportunity to work on redevelopment of home development, condo, office building, or building a new community. And I'm building a school district, being
there was nothing, there was really nothing over there.
I've never worked on
master planning,
dealing with master plan community, but it was in Santa Clarita. And this is before the downturn hit. They sold the deal. I got the bulk grading permit. I actually I got a huge bonus from them, because I've never done this before. I've done street zoning, street vacation permit, rather, to be exact, and changed all the zoning for a commercial property to condos and all that stuff. And then I was like, whoa, I've never done this before, but I got their bulk grading permit for the two master plan development communities in Santa Clarita by means of going to the hospital because the building and planning person that I dealt with got into an accident. And I said, I can't, I'm sorry. I will do anything in my power. And I went there, lined up, and she got her stamp and stamped it on her hospital bed. And I was like the hero. It was so unreal for me.
Well, you're talking about all the stuff that people don't see that happen, that all the stuff that has to happen, all the communication, all the interactions, all the, crossing the T's and dotting the I's that have to happen in order for what then basically people get to enjoy and appreciate. Yeah. Well, that's, I mean, hunt her down in the hospital bed. Okay, maybe if it was today, you'd be able to take her something. Don't give it away yet, but you'd be able to take her something from your kitchen, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, anyways, and then I had an opportunity to just continue consulting after that, and then I just took it, and it's word of mouth, and Tarsadia Hotels was one of my biggest clients, and built the Hard Rock for them, Hampton Inn, Homewood Suites, renovated a bunch of their hotels, and it just continued from there. So I had after that, the development, being into the development scheme basically happened last downturn, when the Chinese investors came into the US, and they don't have any hotel experience. So I acted as their fee developer. So I stood on their behalf because of my background. I would do the packet for them, take it to committee for the brand to approve them, bring them the management company, get them, assist them with the financing, and basically do everything from start to finish on their behalf. And they're just on the sidelines. Obviously, they're signing the checks, they're signing the franchise agreement, the management agreement, and so on and so forth. But that's when basically almost 12 years ago, it started for me to become a fee developer. But then I got inspired. My original goal was to be a hotel developer owner. By the time I'm 40, well, kind of the downturn put a hold on that, but I didn't give up. And now our opportunity to be a hotel developer owner with our own set of investors happened. We were chosen and we won the RFP back in 2018. And it's just on hold. It's in the Bay Area, and we're excited about that project. By the time we finish, we'll be post-COVID, and it will be probably the first hotel in the Bay Area that will be, the new normal.
So where are you in the process as far as that property goes?
We have, we're in the ENA and DDA agreement with a city. It's a city-owned property.
Got it.
And it was originally entitled for 300 keys, but we're only building 200. We have an easement with the BART station. I can't give it away so much.
No. That's
and then there's already a parking garage built. It's in a commercial sort of situation, commercial property. It has theaters, retail, office space, and the hotel component. It's just been sitting there vacant, and we have to develop it.
So is it an existing structure, Aileen?
No, it's a land. Yeah.
Okay.
It's entitled.
So the reason I was asking this is because certain services, certain professions were deemed essential services, right? Early on when this pandemic happened. And one of them was construction. So a lot of people continued to work. New projects maybe were not being green-lighted per se because of funding and restrictions and uncertainties. But the projects that were ongoing that had been funded, at least for a certain period of time, seemed to continue to happen. And it has changed in the last 5 months. But I found it fascinating that, especially in California, I mean, we are such a real estate development engine, economic engine, that for us, those were considered essential services. Now, that being said, even on properties that were open and operating, because there's a lot of volume, right? There's a lot of inventory out there. I mean, the last few years have really, I think, almost like overfilled the market, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
I've had a certain feeling about that for the last couple of years, and every time I would bring it up, it was like almost like you're kind of a naysayer, and I'm like, it's just my economic sensibilities are just, I'm looking at a lot of supply, and I'm questioning how you're gonna like innovate new demand sources to fulfill this. And so, yeah, I was not necessarily surprised. I was surprised by the number, the impact, but I was not surprised that we went to almost an 80% lack of occupancy. Like that the number blew me away. I didn't think it was going to be that hard hit, but can we talk about that? What do you think happened there?
Oh yeah, because the travel stopped, and then everyone was instructed to stay home, and all the major companies for our industry, you know, hotel, especially the development team or anyone that works for the brands. Let's just use the major brands
Yeah,
or
yeah.
REITs. No one was allowed to travel. Everything, their credit cards basically got cut. The only thing that they can reimburse is for their internet and cell phone. Everything else, no spending, no anything, right? So um, and everyone else that was supposed to travel got put on hold. So hence no one was traveling. And then any construction projects that are in uh, cosmopolitan cities, they're not they can't go in because of the 6 feet requirement and checking temperature and all that stuff. You have to adhere with OSHA and
Yeah,
all
we
the
had
rest of
to
them.
we had to do that on
With
projects that what I was working on, that we were continuing to, like, we're
I
wrapping up.
saw that.
We had to
I saw.
yeah, we had to do that. And in fact, it was, it's an interesting uh, case study, almost, if you want to call it that. If you want to take put on your lab coat and get into that sort of helicopter view and look down at what was been going on for the last few months, it's an interesting case study, because we pivoted so fast in mass in terms of using technology, in
Yeah.
terms of zooming, in terms of meetings. All of a sudden, education. I mean, I remember the first week or two, I was like, okay, I'm going to take this show, because I was like you. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I don't feel morally right to sell somebody on services that are design related when they don't know where their paycheck's coming from. Let's do a room addition. Hey, let's remodel your lobby. I know you
Yeah,
don't have any clue if anybody's going to show up in the next few months, but let's spend your money anyway. Just didn't feel right for me to do that. So I was
it's
like,
wrong.
what am I going to do? And I was like, okay, maybe I'll take the Raad Life show, and I'll take it to a daily situation, like touch base with people, find out what they're going through while we're all kind of in this together, kind of thing. And it also gave me an opportunity to connect, because we were in total shutdown, like, right? So I went to Staples, or I tried to get it even online. Within 3 days of this thing happening with the shutdown, we ended up where all webcams were sold. They were gone. They're gone in 3 days, right? We're
That's
talking about,
funny.
people were buying and stocking toilet paper, and webcams went faster than toilet paper.
Oh,
Until today, there's a lack of webcams. And if you could get a webcam used, you were paying 3 times the price. So it was interesting. It's interesting when you look at this, like we moved so fast to adjust to, resiliency, to reposition ourselves, at least from a survival perspective, not necessarily from a work and professional, fulfillment perspective or money making perspective, but from just a survival perspective, we went like this. And so it made me wonder, like, it's amazing, because you're talking about travel, and you're talking about, that's part of a big part of why, the hotel industry took a big really hit in the last few months. I honestly believe that when we come out of this, we are going to really need to
hmm.
look at other sources and other justifications to develop demand. Because if for the last 5 months, I, as a company owner, have had the ability to have all the people that I still held on to still communicate and function remotely, the last thing I'm going to do is add square footage to my office space right? I'm going to basically say, no, 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 we're good. This is working. We learned how to do this. Why are we going to put overhead on top of us? We're going to basically maintain this sort of remote work situation. People themselves may go, I don't really know if I want to come into the office 5 days a week. I may want to come in 2 days a week. And then the other time, I'd rather have the flexibility of being able to like pick up my kid at 2 o'clock. And, you know, as long as my work is getting done and my deliverables and my timelines are being met, I want that additional flexibility. I'll even maybe take a little price, you know, a salary cut in order to get that added benefit. So our world has changed in terms of, you know, what we want to experience, where we want to experience it, how we go about operating our lives. And so as an industry that is so intertwined with people's sort of experiences or seeking experiences, we're going to have to really reinvent how we think about selling the services.
Yeah, and not only that, Rod, the point of now all of a sudden driving doesn't seem to, kind of like back in, what was that, heydays of driving in the 60s and 70s, like people drove everywhere to get to a destination, and it's more such a much more simpler.
It is. Life has become very simple. I remember last winter season. Okay, I was killing myself to find another half an hour in my schedule so that I could add one more event to go to. Right. I mean, I laughed. I was recalling some of this stuff. I'm like, what were we doing? Like, it was about, and I totally get it. Right. It is societal. It's peers, not pressure per se, but peer behavior. You know, there's some of this stuff where it's like, you know, you got to fit into this sort of rhythm. And if you're not moving at this rhythm and this pace, then you're maybe missing out on something or not really doing.
Trying to belong everywhere. You're trying to please, you're forgetting to please yourself. You're trying to please others, or you're trying to just kind of like do rumble and jumble.
And jumble.
Rumble and jumble.
You're not rumbling in the jungle. That's right.
For what? For what? And you're not accomplishing a lot. You're just socializing, and then what? You're not being productive. And like you and I,
well, there's the level of your level of fulfillment is, I've been using the word fulfillment
a lot,
even more so than satisfaction. I've been using the word fulfillment, and I've been using, like, you know, what parts of you do you need to feed? Right? Because you've been feeding your pocketbook maybe, but have you been feeding your soul? Right? And a lot of people, especially, you know, later on, I mean, I'm in my mid 50s, you know, we've been kind of sold this story, not necessarily a bad thing, but the story where it's like, you know, you're supposed to, you know, work your ass off to a certain point, and then you'll go play golf for the next, you know, 20 years. I can't play golf for 20 years. No. Right? I need to have another purpose. I just had a gentleman on, last week, Richard Ward, and we were talking about success with purpose, right? And we know some people like Larry Broughton comes to mind. There are people that actually apply themselves in different ways. It's not just about, you know, their companies. They're successful in their own professional capacity, but then they also try to give back in different ways. Another gentleman, Charles Antis, who's Antis Roofing and Waterproofing in Orange County. Again, you know, he's out there philanthropically giving, involved in a lot of boards. You got to feed other parts of you other than just your pocketbook. Otherwise, you become sort of like an empty shell. You don't have a lot of depth.
Yeah.
So what happened with you? Like when I mean, I'm assuming you also had slowdown, right?
Of course. All of our projects, basically, I was coming back. I'm stuck in Denver right now. I commute going back and forth to Orange County and Denver. I have an office in Costa Mesa. I moved from Newport Beach to Costa Mesa. And that's been my MO for the past 6 years.
Hey, by the way, I know you've got a little, you know, hand in the cannabis side of things. Did you hear what Costa Mesa was doing with? They're about to possibly approve.
No.
In Costa Mesa, yeah. It's happened. There's a thing today, actually, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
We're basically discussing it. So it could be, because right now it's only Santa Ana, right? So it could also be Costa Mesa.
Wow. That's great.
That's big. Yeah, that's big.
That's a big. Well, so I was supposed to fly to Orange County and start a project in Anaheim, and that got changed right away the following week. So March 6th was the last plane ride I took. And then the pandemic hit, and I thought it was just going to happen for a few weeks, but no. I have resources, childhood friends that are doctors that works in labs and stuff like that. It's not.
So what are they telling you, Aileen? How long?
They're working on immunization and for COVID, but by the time FDA approves it, it won't be until spring of next year before they can launch it if it works. They have to do testing and everything else. So when I heard that from them, I knew that this is not going to be a short-lived moment. It's going to be more of a couple of years to be real. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're just going to have to deal with the reality. And we're moving forward to the new normal, which is what it was back in the day. It's much more simpler. Life
it is. You know, I want to just talk about the car situation for a minute, right? I mean, we both live in Orange County. The funniest thing is when this all happened, the two things that normally people would like at the time of meeting and not superficially but genuinely like maybe talk about is like, well, what do you do, right? And then eventually be like, oh, is that what you drive, right? Nobody cares anymore. Like, it's really funny how that is all out. Have you noticed how, like, for example, influencer advertising or people that are influencers on social media, that's gone away? Have you noticed how little selfies there are out there in comparison? The whole world has gone through a paradigm shift that, I agree with you, is probably for the best. I think we lost our way and we were given a chance, call it karmic, call it Mother Nature, whatever. We've been given a chance to reconnect with what is really meaningful versus superficial and not really of real value. And you and I have been through downturns before. And I think that's also—
I've been to two.
Right. And I think that is a big plus because we really have not had a downturn per se since what, let's say 2008. So that's 12 years ago. So if somebody was 18 in 2008, right? They're now 30. So if they were 18 and let's say they were coming out of whatever, high school, maybe they were about to graduate college, they hadn't really been immersed in realities of what actions and recourse and ramifications are. This may very well be their very first challenge, downturn, right? You and I have been kind of through them before, and not that we take them less seriously, but we also know there's a day after. And the way to get through it is to do what you need to do versus what you want to do, right? And find some joy in the process. And kind of like to your point, you could hang on because it's going to be a ride and you will come out of the other end of it. And what you do in that ride may actually give you added value, added awareness, added personal growth, whatever it is. And so I think I just want to acknowledge that not everybody is armed by that same seasoning because they may have not gone through it before. So you have gone through it before. And I actually was grinning when you said I didn't want to sugarcoat it. Because in fact, what you did is you sugarcoated it. Right? Right. So let's talk about let's talk about your sugarcoating it. Like you actually did. You found a way to sugarcoat the moment. So let's talk about that.
So during the pandemic, obviously, besides working out every day, thanks for the Peloton bike. By the way, you're making me feel. By the way, you're making me feel like a complete lazy ass, right? Because every time I turn on, you're doing this, and then you start doing this, and I'm going, okay, this is like, okay, fine. I'm going to follow her because I need an accountability partner. I need to start working at. You were like hardcore. You got on that bike, and and I'm sure it was beneficial, right? Not just from a physical aspect. Yeah, it has an app. So it's not just the bike that has yoga, cardio, boot camp, meditation, and, all the other strength training and and dance classes and whatnot. So I've been one of their original customers when they started. They started almost 7 years ago, coming up, I think in November or whatever. I've been a customer for 6 years now. And I love it. It keeps me sane. It works for me because I travel a lot before, not anymore, but I use my time to enhance my yoga again. I got back to yoga 5 days a week versus just sitting around, and I ride the bike and I can eat, I can drink, I can do whatever I want as long as everything in life is balanced.
Right.
Everything is in moderation. So, and I continue to do my intermittent fasting when I reboosted my immune system when I got sick 4.5 years ago.
Right, because
So,
you had some immunity issues, and so this is very real for you. Like for those who basically, oh, this is just a hoax, or this is just like a flu. Like I have an elderly parent, elderly father. My mother passed away in May. It wasn't COVID related, but the stress of COVID and isolation, I believe, played a little part in her getting many strokes that didn't really help her already chronic cancer situation. But my father, me going out and doing things, like you have to be aware that your actions actually have ramifications. They ripple effect. So you have your own personal, experience with having had an illness. And so I can imagine this is for you, this is very serious.
oh yeah, for me, I take my health very seriously. This is my second round of, this is my third chance of living, actually, because the first one was, I was 37 years old. I had my blood pressure went up from 195 over 165 one day because it's over functioning. I got so stressed out, and then I relapsed. I fell on the ground, and I had to readjust my life then. This time around 4.5 years ago, I got really, really sick, and I had to revisit my what am I doing? What am I killing myself for? Am I satisfying the world, or am I, my daughter needs me, you know what I'm saying? Like for me, I could care, pardon my French, shitless about what's going on. It's what's going on inside of me. And as long as I have peace in my heart and in my mind and in my soul, then I can share that with others. But I am not here to please the world. I'm here to please me and take care of me in order for me to take care of others. Because if I don't take care of myself, then what's the point?
Yeah, I read something the other day where it basically said, if you don't take care of yourself, because I've been, and I don't want to take away from my sister, who has actually done a lot, of the heavy lifting in some cases, and some part we've kind of split the role. But the last 5 weeks since my mother passed away, it has been really an overwhelming list of things that need to be taken care of, and things that you cannot not take care of them. You got to take care of them, like of arranging almost full-time care for my father. I pretty much, my life has now basically been where I basically spend most of the nights over at my parents' house. Try to kind of weave in all the other stuff that you're doing. So I'm grateful that coronavirus came when it did, because can't imagine doing this if I had to also maintain the pace that I was at. And I don't know that I ever want to go back to that pace ever again, because there was a cost I was paying that may have not been apparent to me at the time, because I was just going along and doing, and kind of keeping up with the Joneses, if you will, both professionally and otherwise. And that's like this, it is completely asinine to do that. So I'm not doing that. But the last 5 weeks have been a real drain. And I got to tell you, what you're describing is very real. Like when you have those stresses going on and so forth, if you don't take care of yourself, especially if you're kind of in a caregiver role, which in your case, your daughter, your responsibilities, right? If you don't take care of yourself, which in some cases may seem selfish, but it is absolutely the opposite of that. If you don't take care of yourself, then what people around you get is not the best of you, but what is left of you. And
Not a
that
good thing.
that's not a good thing. I mean, that almost defeats the whole purpose of being there for people, right? If that all they could get is not the best of you, but the rest of you, what's left of you, that's not good. So tell me about
Mhm.
how Sasha and Oliver's Kitchen came about.
So
Was it that you were on the bike a lot and you just needed to feed yourself more stuff, or how did it come along?
I'm such a hyper person. I'm so like a go-getter. So there's no way I've never stayed home ever, every day
Yeah.
this is the first for me. Even as a child, we traveled a lot. So it's like, uh, what am I going to do? So
And
I over, not I over function, but I needed to feed the time and
yeah, you needed to have a
my
purpose.
soul. And I needed to, besides being on in front of the computer trying to do this and that, I repurposed myself into the kitchen.
All right.
And since I did go to Le Cordon Bleu when I was younger for baking and cooking, um, thank thank you to my father who pushed me. I never had a normal childhood because I always have like classes here and there, flour making here and there. I'm like, oh my God. And now, it pays off. Just
Why
like the
why
last,
why why did he push you into that particular direction? Was
I
there
I think my father was such a businessman when he was alive. I think he pushed me because he had a premonition. I don't know if you believe in that he was going to pass. He passed away 27 and a half years ago, and I became an orphan, should I say, at age, I was turning 20 when,
wow.
a week from turning 20 when he passed away. I was still in college, and it was just, I'm an eye-opening experience for
Of
me
course,
because
at
I
20.
had to survive on my own and deal with the reality of my life. My life basically changed overnight. Thankfully, that was in the 90s, and 93 is when he passed away. Thankfully, you know, what people say, money buys happiness. No, money makes it comfortable for everyone. It,
Yeah.
it make you make you can make choices versus not having it.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. You still can't buy happiness.
No.
Definitely
No.
not. But and then thankfully, so I can bake and I can cook, and I just started posting them on Instagram. It's like, here you go, beef bourguignon and or whatever. It really Italian classic carbonara or whatever, and then baking and baking away. And I was craving for arugula,
Hmm.
and I was like, I cannot buy it. I'm stuck in Denver. I'm like, where am I going to go? The Jewish deli is close, and there's only one. I can order it from New York, but it's always been challenging. It's always just one flavor. I go,
Hmm.
why don't I make my own? And I started doing my experiment, and I didn't put eggs in my dough, and I mixed all flavors in one. And people uh, asked me if I can ship it to them, and that's where it all started. And then I was like, okay. I was asked by a couple of hotel industry folks. They said, Aileen, we're going to order. We're going to go back to old school and schedule a Zoom with our clients and our vendors or whatnot. And but you have to set up a company. I go, whoa. I wasn't. I was just baking and
I was doing
cooking
this for myself, and all of a
for
sudden, it's
for fun. And then they're like, Aileen, this is really one of a kind. It's really good. You mixed all the flavors. I know rugula, and most of these people I
yeah,
sent to were Jewish people. So rugula started in Poland
yeah.
back in the day, to give you a little bit of history.
Please, yes.
And obviously there's a lot of Jewish influence in Poland back in the day, and then it spread throughout Europe, and then obviously the migrants brought it to the U.S. First in New York, Chicago, Beverly Hills, any
Yeah.
Jewish community. But I loved it as a kid because my father traveled for Tupperware. He worked for Tupperware, and he was in charge of Asia Pacific, for in in the promotions world, and he was an architect and fine arts major. He had 2 degrees, and he used his talent in designing different products for Tupperware to coincide with your culture. So
very nice.
But correct. So I was exposed as a child, having a test kitchen and all that stuff. He always brought me, he would ask me to sing. He would ask me to cook. I did everything he asked me to do. I was an obedient child. Not really. I was.
So the disobedience happened later in life. Is that what you're saying?
So, anyways, so I love rugula. As a child, I ate it. And so I'm like, okay, now I have to invent a company name. And I go, okay, well, for our hotel development, I had an LLC that I started for the partnership, not the actual property.
Right.
I started using my dog and my cat's name, right? Well, unfortunately, I lost Sasha almost 9 months ago, and she was 14. And I said, maybe to kind of like, relive and commemorate her, and the cat is still here. The cat, I'm not a cat person ever. The cat acts like a dog. You call him, he comes to you. And I'm OCD, as you know.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, but
no,
I'm a clean freak. I'm very organized and stuff. So if you're my pet, you gotta freaking take a bath. You got to brush your teeth. I baby wipe the dog when I trained the dog to get baby wipe when going back to the house and stuff. And so the cat copied everything that the dog did. So I said, okay, I'm going to do Sasha and Oliver's Kitchen. So I applied for LLC. I got it. And then the challenge of applying for a tax ID number was through mail. And then they shut down IRS, and everyone was working from home. So they shut down the IRS.gov. I couldn't get the tax ID number in place until last week, actually. I just got it because they reopened the website. They were so behind. Now I'm just waiting for a sales tax ID. Then I can launch the website fully. So the website is under construction. It's not fully functional yet. You can't order from it yet. I'm going to work on that once the sales tax ID comes in. In the meantime,
people can go check it out. It's Sasha and Oliver's Kitchen.
And I have an Instagram at Sasha and Oliver's Kitchen.
I saw that too.
You can order, you can send me an email, Aileen at afcantainc.com or afcanta73@gmail.com, or, you can send me a message, 949-241-6086, whichever way, or I do take PayPal, Apple Pay, or Venmo in the meantime until all this works out that you can order online. But it was originally just to keep me sane, okay? Not to be able to go outside of the house. I couldn't even run outside because we live around a lake here in Denver, and it was overwhelming for me that people were hovering towards me and I couldn't do it.
Too close
for comfort. And I consider myself not high risk, but somewhat there. I don't want to have to risk myself again into getting exposed to stupidity, should I say.
Right.
Sorry. Selfishness.
Don't be sorry. I think it's very true. I think regardless which way you may lean politically, whatever, it doesn't really matter. At this point, it's not even about pointing fingers. We obviously have a problem with rising numbers. I don't care if 25% of that number is correct or incorrect. Like, somebody was telling me the other day, well, the death rate is only 0.04% or whatever. It's less than 1%. I said, okay, but you keep using, percentages, but that 0.04% still is 140,000 people that are Americans that died in this situation. Even if you take half of those away, okay, and say that those were erroneously reported, that is still 70,000 people that died. Okay, so you're going to go tell me that whatever relative, mother, father, son, whatever, that's surviving that person and the 70,000 that passed away, is going to basically look at you and go, yeah, you know what, that's fine. I lost my relative, but it's only 0.04%. So I totally get it. We shouldn't be concerned about it. Like if that person was your mother, your father, your daughter, your brother, your uncle, your neighbor, your best friend, are you going to tell me that you shouldn't be taking this seriously? So again, it doesn't really matter. I agree with you 100% that if people were being a little less stupid and selfish and actually more concerned about being good stewards and good, being my brother and my sister's keeper as much as I can, I think we would basically be out of this a lot sooner.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's not looking good right now because we're just being stupid.
And now we're on the second round, and
Yeah.
second round of shutdown, especially where you're at. It's sad to
Oh,
say Orange County, LA, Riverside County, Texas, Florida, Arizona, Georgia. I mean, it's just
well, and
crazy.
me, Aileen. I mean, like for me, I don't worry. I'm not scared. It's not like I stopped working. I've still been going to job sites, right? But you have to adapt a different attitude. You went when there were not a lot of people. You limited the number of times that you could go to the site and you try to basically consolidate as much of the functions as you could possibly. You also had to be aware of the fact that should I, heaven forbid, pick up something, I will now basically not be able to be there for my parents should they need any help as simple as delivery of groceries. Like now I put the burden on my sister. So my actions do not basically not impact others. And so when I see people basically telling me about their rights, I said, you know what, I don't know about you, but when I came to this country and I appreciated what freedoms it provided, I never was under the impression that my rights did not come with responsibilities. And if I have responsibilities and that's the way I honor having rights, then I don't basically walk around taking risks that could impact other people, because that is absolutely not only stupid, but selfish.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
Right. So,
but here's the old school way of reaching out to people if you're interested, but I'm going to send you one, Rod.
you're gonna tease me right now by showing it to me on camera.
Here's
Okay.
arugula.
Okay. So
and
go ahead.
No eggs on the dough. And
It's beautiful.
It's very moist, and it's, as you can see.
Hold on a second. Keep the box so I can see what's written on the side of it.
Oh, I'm going to show you. This is my original box, right? Just Canta Resist It.
Canta Resist It.
Yeah,
I love it.
My last name, instead of Just Can't Resist It, Just Canta Resist It.
I love it.
And it's very moist. As you can see, the parchment paper is soaked, and I bake in high altitude, so I had to
you have to adjust,
readjust, and factor in the moisture for shipping and all that. And here's the new box that I've developed. Now it comes with a story.
Oh, cute.
It's a picture of Sasha and Oliver. They were inseparable for 14 years. And then Oliver is an unusual cat, so much so that he has taken up baking to remember his best friend Sasha. He named the company Sasha and Oliver's Kitchen. Thank you for your support. Devour this decadent delicacy as it made with love. And then XOXO, Oliver the Baker Cat. And then it has all the hashtags inside.
Yep.
That you have to do. And
you can't resist it.
That's right. And then here's the website and the Instagram and contact number and all that. And I thought packaging is very important. And
sure.
To me, I think we always talk about this, Rod, because you're one of the people that can understand me, because we're both, multicultural, and we've lived everywhere. You've lived everywhere in the world. I've only lived in Asia and here in the US. I've worked in London and Turks and Caicos, but you can't buy class no matter what you do.
You can't buy class.
It comes from your upbringing.
It also it comes from your heart
and from within.
From within, really.
Yeah.
I mean, when I look at that, and keep in mind that this is happening in your own kitchen.
Yeah.
It's happening over the last couple of months, maybe, really, like 2-3 months max.
Yeah.
That you've kind of pivoted to this. The care and love that you're putting into this, and the care for everything, to the packaging, to the story, you know, the part where you're commemorating also, you know, a soul, and four-legged as it may be, that was with you
Yeah.
for 14 years. I totally get it. And I think it's the kind of stories, the kind of feelings, the kind of sharing that we really are very hungry for, if you don't mind me saying hungry. We're very hungry for, and have been for a long time. And I think this is wonderful. I think, you know, the only question I asked you, and I think if I ask you in a couple more months, your answer is going to probably be a little bit more sophisticated, because you're going to say, well, I have now this commercial kitchen and I got 3 people on an assembly line or whatever. But I mean, right now you're probably getting a lot of orders, and to where it's almost like a full-time job for you. I mean, it takes a long time to make that. It's
I
not
still,
as
I still manage. I started a hotel project. It's in its redevelopment stages. I still manage. I think I'm so used to being out there that
involved in doing. You're busy, yeah.
this keeps me on my toes. And then I actually, here's the thank you cards. It came in yesterday, because people are having to send notes. They're saying, stay safe, stay home, and let's schedule a Zoom call or whatever.
We have a little cat paw like signature on the thank you card.
No, they couldn't do it. This is I'm having a hard time because they have minimal staff on the
Yeah.
printing part.
Yeah.
Trust me, I wanted it that way, but
I know you
to the
well
next.
enough. I know you well enough. That's why I was saying that.
Yeah.
I'm really happy for you. This is really wonderful. A wonderful story, not only as an example of finding, you know, kind of order in the middle of the chaos, finding new purpose, reinvigorating yourself in the middle of a pretty gloomy, you know, dark
Times.
time.
Yeah.
And trying to also do that. You know, the other thing that I don't think gets discussed enough about situations like this, is that it's actually inspirational. Like, I think when we are going through this, and we're collectively going through this, globally going through this, right, to one degree or the other, that when you are able to share this, and why I wanted to have you on as a guest, I mean, other than the fact that it's been way too long coming that you should have been on, but this particular thing I find very inspirational. It really feeds other people when they need it the most, honestly. Like, you know, you need food in your system, in your stomach, but you also need things that give you hope, give you inspiration. And this kind of story, which is as simple as making one particular treat, and basically then, if you know, in the course of doing that, and in the course of sort of solving what you were never satisfied with, like, it's one flavor, I don't really want it to be one flavor, I wanted all flavors. That makes perfect sense, knowing you, by the way. It's like, what other flavors can I put in here? So we got all these flavors in, to tie it into something that's meaningful, to share something as personal as your pet, your story with your pet, in this way, and then making it something that is shareable with others. I think it's very inspirational, and I think it's, again, very needed at the time like this.
I think, and it also, I'm trying to inspire people that have sadly, uh, you know, getting depressed, committing suicide, or
Yeah,
getting
very
abuse and
real.
whatnot. And in the hospitality sector alone, there's 38 million that got let go or furloughed, and combination
Yep,
of
yep.
all the above. I'm just trying to inspire people that, you know, there's ways and means to keep yourself on your toes, and don't give up on yourself. And it's it boils down to my childhood, that I'm very thankful that I was exposed the way I did, and by being brought up by my father, and got exposed to multicultural situation. I'm very blessed that I had that opportunity, because not a lot of people will have that opportunity. And thank God I came out the way I did at the end of the day. And it's so funny, I wanted to share something. My daughter, So she's quarantined, and she got accepted to Cal Poly Pomona hospitality program, by the way. And
Congratulations. That's awesome.
that was one of the good news that I got in April. And she was working as a server and then going to school full time. But obviously she's not working at True
Right.
Foods and Guacamigo. She was working there. So she kept herself busy, and she started doing high tea. So she asked me to help her buy tea set and all that stuff. And I said, okay. She goes, Mom, none of my friends literally know what high tea is about. Like maybe one or two, and they've experienced it once in their life. You raised me doing high tea. They don't even know what tea sandwiches are and stuff like that. So what she did is that she was hosting a Scrabble game, and then they're doing high tea with her. She has a roommate.
So she was doing this in real or in virtual?
No, in reality,
In real. Reality.
with
Okay.
her roommate and the sister and all that stuff, and they did social distancing. She grew up in Newport Beach, so she went. So her friends from Newport Harbor, they were all parked in their cars, and then she set up in the middle. She was teaching them about high tea, and this is how you drink your tea. There's different kinds of tea, and she brought all the teas that I sent her or continued to give her. But it's just so funny that I instilled this in her as a child. Yep. I fed her all different kinds of food. Yep. I took her traveling. You can't buy that. No, you really cannot buy that. Like when we went to Paris when she was 9, right, Raad? She was in a group, and 80 people, including the parents. The only 2 people that ate foie gras and escargot. Who?
You and her.
Correct. And 1 kid tried it. Everyone else ate spaghetti and pizza. You're in Paris, for crying out loud. That's you know what I'm saying?
It's open. It's being and I think what we can take from that, actually, if we wanted to, and I agree with you 100%, is that, again, situations like this, whether they are on purpose, like taking a trip to Paris on purpose, or where we find ourselves in a situation that has been put upon us, like what we are in right now, right? I think the trick is always to be open for new, to be open for things that you don't know. And unfortunately, a lot of people act from a position of fear, which is, to be honest, a big part of why we're in this mess, is acting from a position of fear versus acting from a position of curiosity, right? I think what you taught your daughter is curiosity in a healthy way. I mean, you also taught her the sort of the openness of sharing, because she's not just doing this high tea for herself. She's actually using it as a cornerstone of gathering and socializing safely with people and sharing something of herself with them, which, if they're curious, then it's also appealing and draws them to her. So they're building memories, they're building their relationships over something that is a shared experience. I think if I had to tell anybody, and I agree with you 100%, I mean, you and I are wired in the same way this way, is if you are able to be open for new experiences, open to things, even challenges, and willing to see what else is in it. Is it a challenge, or is it an opportunity to learn something else? Even if it's to learn how to avoid it next time, right? But to approach something from a position of fear is kind of limiting. And that being said, though, there are things that you should be concerned about. Like, for those people that are saying that anybody who's sequestering themselves, or anybody that's basically, using rational behavior, like you, I have an immunity problem, or like me, I have responsibility for other people around me. And so I know I'm not afraid of coronavirus, but I am respectful of the fact that there's something here that could be a danger out of the normal. So for all these people that are basically, maligning people that are afraid and are sequestering and are not coming out and they're not taking risks, no, that is rational. What is irrational is when you basically are not open for things that are different. When you basically, instead of being curious and finding out, your first reaction is, No, no, no. I must do everything else to protect myself from you, and you and I talked about this. I think we do our children a disservice when we teach them that as a knee-jerk reaction versus what you taught your daughter. And it's a perfect example. Here's a situation. I'm sure she is challenged. I'm sure she's feeling, stifled. I'm sure she's feeling like she'd rather, have a little bit more freedom and spend time with her friends and all this stuff. But what has she done? She has looked at a situation. She has found a way to find a light in it and to share it with others to also lighten their burden and their worry. You are doing the same thing with Sasha and Oliver's. So, they say that, things don't fall far away from the tree, my friend. So you have done very well.
She's not perfect. We've been
No,
through challenges, and
none of us are.
She went to University of Alabama, and she was studying, if you recall, interior design,
Right.
major in architecture. It wasn't for her, and she switched her major, and we went through challenges. She partied. I'm not gonna again sugarcoat it.
But that's part of her journey.
Yeah, but she was too young when she graduated high school at 16, and now she maturity kicked in, and she's cooking a lot. I've taught her how to cook, but she's cooking a lot. She's calling me for recipes and how to do this, how to do that, and it's really great. Like I said, do you need money for grocery? Mom, I'm okay. Grandpa sent me money, or oh, I did this thing for my friends, they paid me, or whatever. I'm like, it's to me, it's an accomplishment.
She's her mother's daughter.
It's an accomplishment for me, and it makes me tear up a bit, because I'm that way. I'm very emotional, and
those are good feelings. Those are good tears.
so it's a great feeling, and I'm proud of her, definitely. And I wanted to add something though before I forget.
Go.
So I mailed a box to Sam Nazarian. I'm pretty sure you've known of him, and SBE Entertainment.
Yeah.
So he started a ghost kitchen concept. I don't know if you've heard of that yet.
Sure.
So Sam Nazarian, I've met him when I was 25 years old, when I first started working for Brad Korzen. Sam and his father were investors of Brad until 2002.
Sure.
Is when he started SBE. So anyways, he's Jewish, obviously. I sent him arugula because I wanted to remember the times when we would eat this at Cantor's Deli in Beverly Hills. Whenever we have a meeting, and we always have it at the office and stuff. Right. So I'm actually, I took a risk of sending him a package for hopefully I can be included in his ghost kitchen future for the hospitality world.
Well, and for those who don't understand what ghost kitchen is, ghost kitchens are actually going to become even more and more essential and important as we come out of this, because what it does is it eliminates the need for seating or any of that support structure. It actually has shared facilities. It's almost like a production kitchen that is then basically supported by delivery or what have you. And actually a lot of large entities, like people that are multi-locations, are taking the burden off their brick and mortar locations as far as deliveries and pickups, especially with Ubers and DoorDash and Uber Eats and stuff like that. And they're now starting to basically support that function that is obviously has grown through the pandemic because there's more orders and pickups. They're supporting it through ghost kitchens. And that is actually, I've heard of it, and I know it was kind of happening, but not really bigger.
Whoa.
So I get totally. You remember me asking you a few minutes ago? If I ask you this in a couple of months, you're going to basically say, "I have a commercial kitchen. I'm making Sasha and Oliver's out of." Yeah, I totally see you doing that.
Hey, if people line up for donuts, if people line up for that lady who started Sprinkles, she wasn't trying to sell it to the masses. She was making a quality cupcake. It's super sweet, but man, she started in her garage. Okay. And she was bored out of her mind. She became a mom. She didn't know what to do with herself, and she just didn't want to depend on her husband. And now her husband is her CEO,
right.
And the husband works for her. And not trying to emulate her in one shape or another, but I'm just using that as an example. I'm not trying to sell to the masses. My arugula is one of a kind. I believe in it, and it's all organic ingredients, and it's quality. It's like Gucci or Coach,
hey,
whatever.
Empires have been built on a lot less than that, and and I mean, there's certain things that are basic formulas: good product, unique positioning, nice, careful packaging, a decent story behind it that's genuine and real versus fabricated. And it's something that is basically you can carry around and you can give away and you can gift and whatever, plus your packaging and your color combination is perfect, right? It's not Tiffany exactly, but it's got a little bit
actually
of
subtle.
Right.
It's a little bit subtler than that. And
but the color combination is classic. I mean, it alludes to a certain expectations of quality, just the color combination alone, let alone the product itself, right? And then the thank you cards and all the touches along the way. So I could totally see this where I would walk into like a Monarch nearby, or like any of these hotel properties that have their little delis and their little Starbucks or whatever, and I could totally see small boxes of this where people basically, I totally can, by the way, honestly, like it's perfectly packaged. It would sit very well on a shelf.
No need to refrigerate it.
No need to refrigerate.
It can go for 2 weeks.
Right. Well, right. And at the same time, I know it's fresh because of that. And then if I'm grabbing something and going to visit somebody, or I'm going for a meal and I want to bring something with me, this is something that it has a story. It's not a usual thing I'm going to pick up everywhere. Right. So I actually, honestly, I would probably say at some point when you're ready, maybe in a smaller box size even, this could really be something that could be pitched to, I mean, I can think of 4 or 5 places that are in hotel properties that are, there's Surf Heroes at the Hilton property in Huntington Beach. There's Petals, I think something in Petals, I can't remember the name now, in Monarch Beach and Dana Point. There's all these little sort of like cafes, shops that are basically, it replaced one of the 3-meal restaurants, and as you and I know. So that could easily be something they can buy. I mean, if I can buy a self-help book in there and a branded T-shirt, I want to go take a walk on the beach, and I'm drinking coffee. I'm picking up a cup of coffee, right? So can I just get a box of this? And so I totally see this basically taking off, and I'm really happy for you, my friend, because it's something that you're doing from your heart. But it's also a great example of how, as you put it, don't cry me a river, right? And don't sugarcoat it. And if you're going to sugarcoat it, then come up with something like this. Yeah. I'm
doing a limited edition flavors that you can only buy. You have to continue to entice, the customers.
You got to continue to develop your product, right? Exactly.
Yeah, and it's funny how the videos I learned how to do screen recording, because I didn't know that when they tagged me on Instagram, how the hell do I know that only I can see it, no one else can see it.
Right.
So then my daughter and my niece actually taught me. I kind of forgot it a couple of times. They taught me how to screen record it, and I just started posting all these videos that folks have recorded of themselves, and I'm not even done yet. And there's this one lady, her, Margaret McMahon.
Yeah.
WATG.
WATGLA.
Yeah. And and she's in New York, and she's a New Yorker from, and traveled the world, right?
Yeah, it's a great lady, Margaret.
Yeah, I love her. And her husband is a French connoisseur chef, and she ordered 2 boxes. And let me tell you, her video is, to me, tops everyone else's for now. It's because it's so real and it's so genuine.
She's very genuine and real, yeah.
She opened 2 boxes. She had a bottle of wine, and she had 3 dogs laying there. And she goes, "This is the best effing rugula ever. I've traveled the world. I've had rugula. I've never tasted anything like this, and it goes well with my wine, and I finished 2 boxes, and I don't care. I love you, Aileen. I love your rugula, and I love Sasha and Oliver's." It was so genuine. She was just like she's one of the people that said I should start this, you know, it's really good and blah blah blah. And it was just so cute. It's so genuine. And I'm really excited and looking forward to what this can bring me and everyone else. And I'm looking forward to maybe going on NBC or something. My niece is a PR person, and she's actually going to work on how am I going to get this to the folks on the Today Show or something.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it really isn't that difficult. I think when somebody applies themselves in that way, there are ways to get it. And I think the other thing that's happened with this pandemic is all of us used to live in a world of noise, in a cacophony of content. There's just so much, right? I don't even look at email blasts anymore. Like I think we have really, a lot of us have just cleansed, is the word you and I were using, cleansed a lot of stuff out of our lives. Unfortunately, in some cases, people too, but we've cleansed a lot of stuff out of our lives that was just noise, a clutter, not really meaningful in any way, shape, or form, and not with prejudice, but with just open hand, just kind of cleansed it. Just let it go, you know, just let it go. And as a result of that, I think there's space for people. So when I see something like this, I'm not trying to find time to basically appreciate it. I actually can appreciate it. I can stop. I can do this because there's room. It's not so crowded. You know, it's like a spring cleaning. Like, you know, coronavirus is probably going to end up being the ultimate spring cleaning for people. Like it happened in spring, and we basically just cleansed everything that didn't work for us. Because
it goes through until next year. They already canceled the Rose Parade. They already canceled Oscars for next year.
It's not. This is my predictions is I have somebody tell me today, no, it's okay. It's going to be over in November because they're associated with the elections. I said, no. You're misunderstanding human behavior. You're misunderstanding human psychology. You're not really looking at things from a historical perspective. Again, to your point, people being exposed younger in their lives, earlier in their life, to that there is other things, there are lessons to be learned in history, through other cultures, through things like that, to, again, be open to receive that knowledge, be open to be curious, right? You're curious about, I can't get what my favorite treat is, so I'm going to make it, and I'm going to put all the flavors that I never found in it because it should have been in it from the beginning. So in the course of that, you invented something, and I can see it in your face. I mean, you are just energized, you're happy, you're excited, and you know what? I can think of worse things to wake up every morning being.
And it's you know, it's funny how FedEx approached me because I've had an account with them forever, right? But I just use it to ship plans or
right,
you know, phase one report or anything, right? Like I just use it for work. Period. And then they started seeing I spent $1,500 last month on shipping. So they're like, and it's all express. It's either overnight or 2-day. That's it. Because I want the product to arrive
as fresh as possible.
And you can keep it for 2 weeks, whatever, but it never lasts that way. Everyone eats it the same day. So they go, Aileen, we can work out a plan for you and all that. And I'm like, okay, it's just you know, I've never had to deal with FedEx in that manner.
You know, there's an old saying that says, you know, when you decide to pursue something, especially from like a passionate pursuit, the universe conspires to help you. Right. I always it's one of my favorite sayings because it almost it insinuates that the universe consciously, right, it conspires to help you. So all you got to do is make a decision to explore, to be curious, to pursue something from a position of a passionate pursuit, and all things will align if it is the right thing for you. And I can't wait to see where this happens, and I can't wait to receive my box. All
I
right.
will send you one. I'm sending you one today, Raad. I promise.
That's fine. I don't think I'm going to come even anywhere close to Margaret's video. Margaret, a shout out to you. You're a great person, and we both just acknowledged it. And I think I can't wait to see that video once she puts it together. I don't know that I'm going to match your video, but I promise you I will send you one. But it really is great to spend time with you, my friend. It's been too long. We need to do it in person as soon as possible.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me, Raad. I know it's been, I think we talked 3 years ago, and you said, Aileen, you should be on our show. Aileen, it never happened. And there you go.
You know what? Things happen when they're supposed to happen, right? They really do. And so I learned a long time ago that to be open to receive things, but also to not, I mean, we all have expectations, but to not basically worry about pushing something, because if I really believe things happen when they're supposed to happen.
Things happen for a reason.
And they happen for a reason. You may not, you may not know what that reason is when it's happening, but that's why it's important sometimes to get out of your own way and let the thing happen, because it will teach you something. You will learn something from it. It may be a life pursuit that comes out of it. It may be a clarity on an issue that you're not clear about. It may be finding another purpose like you have done here that feeds a part of your soul and feeds other people as well and puts smiles on their faces. So I really appreciate you being here and spending time with me. Love doing it all the time, and I can't wait to get that from you. And if anybody's interested, please check out Aileen's Sasha and Oliver's Kitchen. It is on Instagram. SashaandOliver'sKitchen.com is the website. It will be more fully functional as soon as she's got all her paperwork in place. But really, just thank you so much, my friend. It's really a blast to spend some time with you today.
Thank you, Raad, and have a great week. And let's stay in touch, okay?
Absolutely. You too.
Right.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us for another episode of the Raad Life. This one was a real sweet treat.
I'm sending you one.
Bye.